Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Hospitable Host Podcast. I am your host for today, Miles Hobson, Head of Marketing here at Hospitable. Today I have with me Chad Phyllis of Checkmate Rentals. Today we will be learning all about how Chad has grown to 220 properties under management, all with the help of Hospitable. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe on your favourite podcast platform. Okay, hello Chad. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Doing wonderful, Miles. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. So to start off, Chad, can you give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and your business and how you got into property management in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you who don't know, my name's Chad Phyllis. I'm the owner and founder of Checkmate Rentals, which is a nationwide short-term rental property management company. And, we use Hospitable for everything. We love them. We've been with them since the beginning, back when you guys were Smart B&B. And I've been with you guys for a long time. But, we've really grown with you guys. Right now we currently manage around, I would say, 220 properties, somewhere in that range. And we're growing at a very good clip, which is fantastic. But when I first started with you guys, I had two. From 2 to 220, it's been quite the ride. I started out in the industry back in 2017, working with another company that did this. And, I just realized I didn't really like a lot of things that, they were doing. And then I looked at all the other companies out there and I said, man, they're all doing the same thing. And, I was getting complaints from hosts about, I really love this about management companies and I really don't like this. And I wish this was different. So my story is I started taking notes and I said, one day I'm going to start a company, that's centered on your needs and your wants as a host. And fast forward 3 years, 2020 happened, COVID hit, and, that company didn't really survive COVID because of where they had most of their properties, in the New York City area, which really shut down hard during COVID. I was doing my best to expand them across the country because that was kind of one of my roles. Ended up losing my job and I was getting married in a month. So
Wow.
I had no idea what I was going to do. And, what a blessing it was because a handful of the hosts reached out to me and said, hey, Chad, we like you, we trust you, and we think you can do a good job. And can you help us? And I was prepared. So I said, absolutely, let's do it. So, we started out with a couple properties under management, and now here we are 5.5 years later.
Nice. Amazing. And I think you already, you touched on kind of doing things a little bit differently. I think one thing that you really do is kind of champion that hospitality first mindset. So would love to ask you, what is maybe one counterintuitive or high impact amenity or personalized touch that you find consistently leads to 5-star reviews and repeat bookings for you?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of different for every host, right? It's a big overall picture of providing a very high quality experience for guests, right? But, if hosts are looking just for like a little tidbit of, maybe like the biggest factor, right, is doing something small but special for guests. And that could be one of the most popular ones is maybe a bottle of wine with a couple wine glasses next to it and having that in your photos, right? Or maybe not having it in your photos so people don't expect it, right? And then they get there and they're like, oh, what a nice gesture, right? And that kind of sets the tone for the reservation. And if there was something that slightly went wrong at the beginning, or maybe there was some miscommunication, things happen, right? That kind of calms that down. Like, oh, these are nice people. They care about us. We're going to, have a nice stay and leave a great review. It could be a small gift basket, right? Whether it's, some snacks or, really personalized to what that host wants their stay to be. If it's a romantic getaway type of cottage, right, then absolutely I recommend the bottle of wine and, two wine glasses, right, if that's the theme. But yeah, it really depends on your theme and what you're going for, but some little gesture goes a very long way.
Nice. Okay. And obviously you have set up a lot of properties to be short-term rentals, going from 2 to 220. You've seen many properties on that journey. What's some of kind of the, I guess, design and amenity things that you're kind of looking at and thinking about to help increase a property's booking rate?
Yeah. So, when it comes to design, that's obviously not something that we specialize in ourselves, but we
Mm-hmm.
partner with great companies that do that.
Okay.
Uh, highly recommend some companies in the industry. My good friend Justin, who runs Showplace, they're fantastic. They do full interior design and setup. So shout out to you, Justin. But I would say it's it's about emotion, not just function, right? So designing, however you're going to design the property, it should be to elicit a certain emotion in that guest. Sticking with the theme of a romantic getaway, right? Making it so, they get there and they feel romantic, right? It's like,
Mm.
this place is cozy, it's warm, it's there's a fireplace and it's decorated, and there's like a cozy reading room, and there's a hot tub, and there's the ambiance with the lights, right? So that sort of thing is obviously it's very personal per property, and what that person is going for when it comes to the themes. But whatever theme you're doing should elicit a certain emotion. We in the past we managed a property where uh, it was unbelievably themed. It was I believe it was down in Disney World, and it was a full Harry
Okay.
Potter themed home. Right, every room, every ounce of paint was complete top to bottom Harry Potter. And it was great, right? And that obviously costs a lot of money, and that's not for everybody, but it works, right? So big theme, small theme, you just want to make sure you have some sort of theme. You don't want it to be bland and like, someone's just going into an apartment that they just rented, right? That they have to decorate all themselves. It's have some sort of theme, no matter what market you're in, and kind of try to pick out your niche in that market.
That makes sense. And then obviously, it's great having a beautiful property that has a theme, or it's cozy and warm. Um, but a lot of properties also mean a lot of listings. So I imagine you have a lot of experience with optimizing listings as well. What are some of the things that you see people make mistakes on when it comes to optimizing their listing to show off their property? And what do you see as kind of quick fixes for those issues?
Yeah, first and foremost is photos, right? People, not many as many nowadays, but before, you know, before people could kind of skimp out on the photos and use, photos from your phone or whatever, and it kind of could have worked, right? Especially right
Mm.
after COVID, when the big boom, everything, you could have thrown up your shed in the backyard and put an air mattress in it and took one photo, and it might have got booked up, right? That doesn't work nowadays. There's too much competition, and you need to be professional. You have to have fantastic professional photos. That's number one. Spend the money on it. It's very, very important. You really have no chance of ranking high without it. And the algorithms that AI that all these sites are using, like Airbnb and Verbo, to detect whether photos are professional or not, it's real, right? And it really, really factors into that. So photos number one. Very important. Then choosing the proper photo for your hero photo, right? Some people have great photos, but they choose a picture of the bathroom as the main photo. That's not good, right? You need the most attractive photos first. Very important. That's simple information that most people know.
Mhm.
Descriptions, very important. You don't just want checklists. You want to kind of tell the story of your property. Another thing, eliciting emotion, right? People buy things based off of emotion, not because of logic. So that's very important. Is telling the story of your property without keeping it, making it too long, and at the same time highlighting those amenities that you provide that separate you from your competition. That's really big. Titles, they're important. They used to be more important. I think they're still important though. People used to do like the keyword hacking of all the titles, and it would just be
Yeah.
all these separate words that didn't make sense. It if you want to name your property a certain name that has sentimental value to you, absolutely you can do that. But maybe just try to put in a couple things that really make your property stand out, whether it's a hot tub or, lake view access, whatever the case may be, right? So those are three really big things. And then the other thing that I see most people don't do right is incomplete listings, right? And Airbnb and Vrbo and all these sites are constantly adding new things for you to fill out, whether it's checkout instructions, check-in instructions, they're adding more amenities, right? And you have to click yes or no on a lot of these. Just go through and do it, right? And most people leave those blank. And then I'm sure on the back end of these algorithms, they say, oh, well, this listing's really not complete, right? So we might not show it as high. So complete everything. Do the photo descriptions, right? Most people think, oh, we have great photos now, but there's an area where you create a photo description. And most people don't have those. So describe what the photo is, right? And that's important. What bedroom is this? What bathroom is this? Is this the game room? Is this the living room? It's more so for the site's algorithms, in my opinion, than for the guest, because the guest can probably tell, especially with the photo tour now that you can do on Airbnb. Yeah. But those four things, I think, are the things that most people miss out on that are just basic things that could really help.
Nice. Yeah, and at time of recording, it's technically not out yet, but at time of podcast release, I think that you'll actually be able to create your listings from Hospitable as well. So we're going to be able to help you kind of do all of those things and make sure that you have 100% completion across booking channels.
That is some of the best news I've ever heard. Oh, that's amazing. Awesome. Really looking forward.
Yeah, we just dropped that news on our town hall yesterday, so I'll have to send you the link, Chad, so you can kind of catch up on that. Sweet. Cool. So obviously, as well as kind of looking at the listing optimization, I'm sure that you are constantly looking at the data on the properties and deciding, how profitable they are and how successful things are going. What are some of the key, short-term rental business financial metrics that you're looking at on a daily or a weekly basis?
Yeah. So, there's all the basic ones that most people look at, right? Like average daily rate and things like occupancy rates. Those are obviously important. And, we use tools like Price Labs, for example. I have a couple of business partners. They specialize in that. They go in and do all the pricing and revenue. I know you guys have come out, and started doing pricing yourself. So I'm interested in checking that out as well. But, as for some other things, right, it's like click-through rates and conversion rates and maybe, some of those things in booking rates, things that aren't as well known, right? It's not just your normal stats. And we use sites like maybe RankBreeze, right, that can provide that information. Obviously, the booking sites can do that too. It's just hard to find and hard to aggregate all that information. So we use tools that help us to look at that extra data. Why is a listing underperforming, right? Is it people aren't clicking, or is it, are people just scrolling past? Are they not clicking? Once they click, are they leaving immediately, right? And, all those things could tell you what's the problem, right? Is it maybe the photos are really bad and people just aren't clicking, right? And then you get the photos right, and maybe people are clicking, but then they're not converting. And why is that, right? Is it because your pricing is not right? Is it because you don't have enough amenities that you're offering compared to your local competition? So it helps us to dial in what the problems are, on a property by property basis to try to optimize those.
Nice. Okay, that makes sense. And I'm really jumping around here, Chad, and asking you questions about everything short-term rentals. Obviously, you are an expert, so we want to get as much information from you as possible. Switching across to kind of direct booking strategy, and whether that is playing a role in your business, and essentially kind of your ideas on how important direct booking is and how are you driving traffic there as well.
Yeah, it's starting to play more of a role. I would say at first that wasn't, really a huge thing, because it's difficult to drive traffic to direct booking sites, and it's expensive, right? So using sites like Airbnb and Vrbo and Booking.com that drive traffic is very important. Um, but I think once you get more established, and you have a customer base that keeps returning to your property, it is important to build a direct booking, reputation. It saves you on fees, and a lot of guests do ask, hey, how can I, stay next time and pay less fees, right? And I think that's probably one of the big reasons why Airbnb did their update of showing guests no fees now. But yeah, it's important, right, to do that. And email email marketing and retargeting those people that stayed in the past, I think, is still the biggest way. And then there's also other sites that we use, thanks to you guys now, that allow us to drive traffic to direct booking sites like Google Vacation Rentals, right? Because that's not your normal Airbnb VRBO type of site, right? It's based in Google Maps, and it drives traffic to the direct booking websites, which we can build because of you guys. And then there's other sites that you guys have on there too, like I believe Hoofy is one of them, and some more integrations that allow you to drive traffic to those. So I think it's important, and we really haven't dove into ads, and running traffic that way to them, but maybe that could be something in the future. But I think, right now we're seeing decent success with Google Vacation Rentals and some of those other sites and email marketing.
Nice, that's great to hear. And obviously, Google Vacation Rentals is commission free as well, so it's kind of, why not get listed there and have that extra exposure for your direct site too.
Absolutely.
Cool. So would love to also kind of talk about communication and automation. So, across 220 properties, you must handle so many guests in a given year, and so many questions must spring up. And I can't imagine that you're handling all of that on your own, Chad. So we'd love to understand how you're making sure that you are delivering, those quick response times across all those properties at all hours, basically.
Yeah. So, first off, having a PMS, like you guys, that is, in my opinion, hands down the best for guest communication is crucial, right? Having automated messages for certain touch points throughout the stay saves tons and tons of time. That's very, very important. And we do try to pride ourselves on having, an industry best response time or close to it, right? Normally between 0 and 15 minutes is our goal. I would say normally it's less than 5 minutes, us getting back to a guest. That's very important. And I'm talking about the real human getting back to a guest, right? Not just automated responses. Automated responses are important for ranking high because the sites see, wow, they're answering immediately, right? That's important. Yeah. But for guest satisfaction and reviews, getting back to guests very quickly is crucial. And unfortunately, most people, whether they're doing it themselves or, and even other companies, sometimes it takes 30 minutes to an hour to get back to guests, right? And that can be very detrimental depending on the situation. So we use the automations, right? And we have, a decently large staff that's staffed 24/7, to make sure we can get back to guests at any time of day or night, whether it's through messaging or, through phone calls. We provide phones. We have a 24/7 phone line, to handle maybe more urgent, serious situations. So yeah, it's it takes a lot of training. You're right. I can't do it all myself, but we have a fantastic team that really helps with that. And your guys' new AI, messaging really can help too, right? I still always recommend a human touch. Look at the messages, edit it, make sure it's right, but it really helps with spelling and grammar errors and everything else. So that helps speed up the time as well, dramatically. And because it can be trained on the data of each property, which is key and essential. So yeah, communication is absolutely important, especially quick communication.
Nice. Yeah, and you kind of touched on there the kind of the human connection, but intelligent automation. So where would you say that it's kind of non-negotiable that there needs to be that human touch as well? And where should hosts prioritize having that human element versus going fully automation in your perspective?
Yeah, that's once again, it's on a guest by guest basis, right? And AI is coming a long way, and it's coming a long way really fast with all the tools and everything else. But I think empathy and compassion are something that it's not quite getting right yet in a lot of scenarios. And when guests message us anything that's outside of, okay, here's check-in instructions, here's checkout instructions, here's your inquiry message, thank you for inquiring, that type of stuff. I think, a human really needs to do that. And even if you're doing the canned responses, which I recommend, making it really, really sound human and empathetic and charismatic is key. And sometimes you can just use those. But if there's an issue, or if you can sense that a guest is upset in any way, or they may become upset in any way, a human to human interaction is necessary. Because if they think that you're just, passing them off to a robot and they're actually upset about something, it's a recipe for disaster. So, a lot of times getting on the phone with people is what you have to do, which we do that. But if you're going to message them, that's when I think humans are very, very important. People to people talking, and I don't think anything will ever truly replace that.
Nice, I like it. So as a large property management company, you obviously have a large team and you're distributed across different states. How do what are some of the systems that you bring in to kind of ensure operational excellence and kind of consistency across those different states, those different properties, to make sure you kind of deliver that level of standard that the property owner is expecting?
Yeah, so I think it comes from the top down from our team, right? When it comes to problem solving, because that's the same really anywhere, any state, right? If you have the washer or the dryer is broken, or the electricity is out, or they can't get in the front door because the smart lock's not working. What I've done over time is really train my team on what I would do in these scenarios. And obviously when I continue, to learn as we go as well. But just kind of passing down what I would do. And then no matter what time of day or night it is, and no matter what I'm doing, the team knows what I would do in that scenario. Right. And then they can handle that, through the SOPs that we've created, the standard operating procedures, to hopefully get the best result. Right. And if someone doesn't know how to do something, they go up the ladder, they will, call one of my business partners, or they'll call me, and, then we'll step in and handle the situation the best we know how. Right. And, but as for handling, having something uniform across the country, right. That's where, this was kind of my expertise before I started this company, was setting up the local teams that are going to be the boots on the ground people, right? Who are doing everything that we need them to do. Cleaning companies, maintenance companies, contractors of all types, errand runners, you name it. We've learned over time that you can't just hire anybody to be the cleaner or the handyman. There's needs to be a thorough vetting process there, right? So we have a prototype of the type of company that we want to partner with. We call those people Checkmate preferred partners, right? If they meet those standards and if they get through the vetting process to work with us, right? And, it's preferably companies of medium size when it comes to the cleaning companies, maybe people of, maybe 3 to 10 people on staff, right? Because if they're just an individual cleaner, they could be fantastic, but they get sick, they go on vacation, they have weddings, things happen. And then we're scrambling to find someone brand new who's never cleaned the property to go and do that job. Not ideal, right? If the company's too big, they're going to a lot of times nickel and dime you on little things, or they won't do them at all, such as changing batteries and light bulbs, and going above and beyond and being more than just a cleaning company, right? They have to be the true boots on the ground people, and we train them to do that. So they also, not only does my team operate, by those standard operating procedures, but so does our cleaning companies, and so does our maintenance companies. So they're all trained on how we need them to operate, and that's something that's very important.
Nice. Okay. And then second to last question for you, Chad. We're almost there. We're almost at the finish. What are the biggest security and risk management challenges you have faced as you've scaled, and what practical steps can hosts take to mitigate those risks effectively?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest ones are obviously parties, and having people. I know a lot of people, depending on what state you're in, are worried about squatters and things of that sort. Uh, Vetting is so important, right? And now I know you can't go overboard, because then you're not going to get as many bookings. There's things that you guys now allow us to do through, I believe it's Auto Host, is one of the tools that we can use for vetting. But what I've found works best across our portfolio is, setting an age limit that's going to eliminate most of the people who have the potential of partying, right? Which is normally people under the age of 25, right? They're in college, they're in high school. There's a high chance, if the person booking the property is of that age, there's a much higher chance of something happening. So we try to set that age at 25 normally. Obviously, any of our hosts have the full authority to set whatever they want. Someone 18, someone 21. We can do whatever the host wants. But I would say, if you really want to avoid as many issues as possible, setting that at 25, making sure that people booking have a verified identity uploaded to whatever platform they're booking on, making sure that they either, one, have good past reviews and no bad past reviews, or they don't have any reviews at all. I know a lot of people can turn on that setting where it's like, okay, well, hey, we only want people with good past reviews to book our property. And it really limits the pool of people that are going to be able to book your property. There's so many new people coming onto all these sites that have never booked there before, right? And they could be great guests, and they probably are, and you're just eliminating them, right? So we normally recommend not turning that one on, right, and allowing those new people to book. But yeah, and if you have a bad guest, leave them a bad review so that other hosts know, right? It's important that or a true review, right? A true review of what your experience was with them. It's very, very important because we've dealt with that many of times. So yeah, I would say, in security purposes, obviously using smart technologies, very, very helpful. Ring cameras or whatever type of camera you want to use, seeing who's able to go in and out, obviously disclosing those like you have to, and keeping them outside and where people know where they're at. And some people like the noise systems, right? Depending on if you're in a neighborhood that has quiet hours or an HOA, all those are really, really important things. And then the smart lock, the good old smart lock is so important, because giving each guest their own code before, and after, and making sure it activates at check-in, deactivates at checkout. We can see who's going in and out of the property and when, and so can the owner. We can see if the cleaners are late, all that type of stuff. It gives you the control to do those things. So yeah, I think overall that's, just some of the things that I'd recommend.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate all the insights, Chad. I think I just have one last question for you, and that is kind of 2026 plans for Checkmate Rentals and what the future holds for your property management company.
Yeah. So, 2025 so far has been an extreme year of growth. Marketing is really starting to take off and doing well. People are finding out who we are. I think it's continuing to scale at a rate where we can keep the quality of service that we have.
Nice.
right? That's really important. I think a lot of companies miss that, and once they get the marketing thing down, they get too big too fast. They lose the personal relationships and the personal touch
Mm.
with each and every host, and that was the thing that kind of made them special, and that's the separator between you and the companies that have tens of thousands of properties. So you can't lose that, but at the same time, you need to grow and hit your growth goals and everything else. So we're really trying to find that balance, and I think we're doing a good job at it. But I always make sure I can talk to every one of my hosts, right? And I don't want to lose the ability to do that. So I think the size of where we go, right, is not the most important thing, but it is continuing to increase the quality of the service that we offer, and obviously you guys will be playing a big part in that.
Nice. Awesome to hear. Okay. I guess final question. The website, if anyone wants to go and learn more about Checkmate Rentals, is?
It is www.checkmaterentals.com. So feel free to check us out there. You can schedule a call with me directly from our website. Would love to talk with you and help you in any way I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Chad. It's been very insightful. Appreciate the time.
All right. Thank you, Miles.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed our episode of the Hospitable Host Podcast today, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and listen out for the next episode dropping real soon.